Ever feel like you're in a tight spot? Well, try being stuck on Mars, presumed dead, with supplies running low.
Ugh. Yeah, that's a tough one.
It is. And that's Mark Watney's Reality in the Martian, which we're diving deep into today. It's a story of ingenuity, resilience, and keeping your sense of humor when facing impossible odds.
You know, what strikes me about The Martian is how it takes this really dire situation and spins it.
Spins it how?
It's not just about survival, it's about problem solving, the tenacity of the human spirit, and finding humor even in the darkest moments.
Right. Watney never lets despair get the best of him. The whole thing starts with this massive dust storm that forces the Ares 3 crew to evacuate Mars.
Yeah, they have to leave. No choice.
They think Watney's dead, but he wakes up alone, injured, facing this seemingly hopeless situation.
And yet, no panic, no giving up. He assesses his situation using his training as a botanist to figure out what he has and how to survive.
So he's like, okay, I'm stranded on Mars, but first, what's on the to-do list?
Exactly. And it's fascinating to read his log entries because you see this systematic analytical approach, even while he's cracking jokes and staying surprisingly upbeat.
Like, okay, I'm stranded on Mars, but first, let's make a list.
Pretty much.
And top of that list, food.
Of course, gotta eat.
Limited rations mean he's got to become the first Martian farmer.
That he does. And this is where the author's science background is so evident. He explains how to actually grow food on Mars, like using real scientific principles.
So it's not just made-up science fiction stuff.
No, it's grounded in reality. Watney uses Martian soil, mixes in some Earth soil from the mission supplies, and, well, let's just say he gets creative with the fertilizer situation.
Recycling takes on a whole new meaning when you're the only human on Mars, huh?
You could say that. But beyond the fertilizer, it's all those calculations that are amazing. He has to manage water, light, the temperature, and create this controlled environment inside the hab.
It's literally science keeping him alive.
It really is. And it's not just the big plans, it's the constant problem solving. Equipment breaks, he's low on supplies, every step forward, there's a new setback.
So what does he do? Just give up?
Nope. Watney adapts. He improvises. He even figures out how to use the hab's oxygenator. It's supposed to recycle air to create water, extracts oxygen from the Martian atmosphere.
Wow. Talk about thinking outside the box.
Right.
And through it all, he's keeping this log, filled with technical details, dry wit, and these real human moments, fear, frustration, even joy.
Those logs are more than just a storytelling device. They're like a window into his mind. We see how he uses humor as a coping mechanism, how he stays sane and focused in this incredibly isolating and stressful environment.
Early on, when he's sizing up his situation, he writes, I'm pretty flush on EVA suits. The hab stood up to the storm without any problems.
It's that kind of dry, almost dark humor that becomes his trademark.
It's like, yeah, no big deal, just stranded on another planet.
Exactly. And that humor, it's crucial. It's not just for laughs, it's a survival tactic. It lets him step back from how bad things are to approach problems with a clear head and to hold on to hope, even when it seems like there is none.
And then there's that moment that really shows just how precarious his situation is, the hydrazine experiment.
Oh, yeah. That's a huge turning point.
Yeah.
He needs more water for his crops, so he comes up with this super risky plan to get it from hydrazine. It's rocket fuel,
It sounds a little dangerous, right?
to say the least. And before he even starts, he writes, "This may be my last entry." I mean, you can feel the tension, the weight of what he's about to do.
And things go wrong, of course.
Well, he survives the experiment itself, but then, boom,
Uh-oh.
an explosion rocks the hab. Nearly kills him, sets him back big time, destroys the potato farm, jeopardizes his food supply.
Not good.
Not good at all. Plus, the hab itself is damaged. There's a slow leak he has to scramble to fix.
It's just one problem after another.
It is this constant cycle, problem solving, setback, adaptation. But it's amazing how Watney never seems to completely break.
He just keeps going.
He does, driven by this incredible will to live.
It makes you wonder, what would we do in that situation?
Yeah.
How much strength and ingenuity do we all have inside?
That's what's so powerful about The Martian. It's not just a story about surviving on Mars. It's a story about human potential, overcoming adversity, what we're all capable of.
And all this time, back on Earth, nobody knows he's even alive.
They're mourning him, planning a mission to recover his body.
Until something unexpected happens.
Enter Mindy Park, a satellite technician at NASA. She's reviewing images of the Ares 3 landing site and notices some, let's say, unusual activity, things that shouldn't be happening if Watney were really gone.
Like what?
Signs of movement, equipment being used, little things, but they mean something.
It just shows sometimes the smallest detail can change everything.
Absolutely. One observant technician looking at grainy satellite images sparks this global effort to bring Watney home. And with that discovery, the story shifts. It's less about one guy's survival and more about global collaboration. The incredible power of human ingenuity, not just on Mars, but back on Earth, too.
It shows that even when facing the impossible, we're not alone. We can connect, pool resources, and achieve amazing things.
That's right. And that's just the start. The discovery that Watney is alive is just the first step in a very long, very dangerous journey, both for him on Mars and the people on Earth who are now determined to bring him home. So things are getting real. Now it's not just about Watney surviving. The whole world is trying to figure out how to bring him back.
Right, because just being stuck on Mars wasn't enough. NASA discovers this huge dust storm headed right for him, and they know his solar panels can't handle it.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, not good. They know he won't have enough power to run his life support.
It's like you can feel the tension building. As a reader, you know how dangerous this is.
Right.
But Watney, he's in the dark, literally and figuratively. He can't communicate with NASA in real time, no warnings or updates.
And even if he knew, it's not like he could just outrun a planet-wide dust storm.
No escaping that.
So what's he do? He faces it head on, with ingenuity and, of course, that dark humor.
This is where his scientific mind really shines. He starts analyzing every little bit of power he uses, trying to cut back wherever he can to stretch what little he has left.
And this leads to some big decisions. Like, remember that RTG, the radioactive thingy?
The radioactive thermal generator.
Yeah, that's the one. NASA told him to bury it far away from the HAB because of radiation.
Right, for safety.
But Watney, always the problem solver, realizes the RTG generates heat constantly.
Ah, I see where this is going.
That means he can use it to keep the rover warm so he doesn't need to run the electric heater, saving precious battery power.
Risky move.
Very. But for Watney, everything's a calculated risk. He even writes in his log, "Yeah, I know, it's incredibly dangerous, but what's the worst that could happen? I get cancer 50 years from now. I'm on frickin' Mars."
He's got a point there.
Meanwhile, NASA's watching this all unfold from millions of miles away. Can't do much except watch and wait.
Talk about helpless. They can track him via satellite, but they can't stop the storm.
As if the dust storm and the power shortage weren't enough, then something else goes wrong.
Like he needed more problems.
Right. The drill breaks. The one he needs to modify the Ares 4 MAV, fried beyond repair.
Oh no, that's a critical piece of equipment.
It is. This isn't just any drill. This is vital for any chance of rescue. Can you imagine the frustration? The clock is ticking, and the one tool you absolutely need just dies.
You're completely cut off, reliant on yourself and whatever you have on hand.
Yet again, he doesn't quit. He's like, okay, new plan. He writes, if I can get to the Ares 4 MAV, I'll be set. But having lost contact with NASA, I have to design my own great Martian Winnebago to get there.
That's Watney in a nutshell, turning a bad situation into an adventure, not just surviving, but thriving.
And back on Earth, the pressure's mounting for NASA. They realize their original rescue plan won't work. They need something drastic.
That's where the Rich Purnell maneuver comes in.
Sounds intense.
It is. This guy, Rich Purnell, a brilliant, kind of eccentric astrodynamicist, comes up with this really wild plan.
Lay it on me.
Okay, so they're going to use the Hermes spacecraft, it's already on its way back to Earth, to do this slingshot maneuver around Earth.
The slingshot?
Yeah, using gravity to basically fling it back towards Mars.
Whoa.
For a super high-speed flyby to pick up Watney.
It's like something out of a movie.
Totally, but grounded in real physics. But there are some huge challenges. First, the Hermes crew would have to add hundreds of days to their mission.
Talk about above and beyond the Call of Duty.
Seriously, putting themselves at huge risk. Plus, they need the supply probe from China just to have enough fuel and stuff to make it back.
And what about Watney?
Oh, he still has to reach the Ares 4 MAV, which is thousands of kilometers away across crazy, dangerous Martian terrain.
It's a long shot, to say the least.
Absolutely. But the Purnell maneuver, it's a glimmer of hope, a chance, however slim, to bring him home. And it raises this ethical question. Is it worth risking the lives of the entire Hermes crew to save one man?
No easy answer to that.
Nope. In the book, you see NASA wrestling with this. Should they even tell the Hermes crew about the plan? Give them the choice.
What do they decide?
They tell them. And it's such a powerful moment when the crew gets the details. They know the risks, what could happen, and still they decide to go for it. Defy orders, risk their lives for their teammate.
Wow.
It really shows the power of human connection, the bonds of teamwork. And through it all, Watney has no idea he's working, modifying the MAV for this rescue he doesn't even know about.
Talk about working in the dark.
Right. All his engineering skills are put to the test, stripping the MAV down to make it lighter, figuring out how to launch into a very precise trajectory to intercept Hermes with limited resources.
And of course, things don't go perfectly smoothly.
Of course not. It wouldn't be the Martian otherwise. There are close calls, near disasters. Remember when the rover flips over going down into Sheep Rally Crater?
Yikes.
Terrifying moment. He's injured, equipment's damaged, time is running out. But once again, he pulls it together, fixes things, keeps going.
He's the definition of resilience.
He is. It's almost like those setbacks fuel him. He turns them into chances to innovate, to problem solve, and finally, against all odds, he reaches the MAV.
That must feel amazing.
Right. It's the culmination of everything he's done, all the obstacles he's overcome. He's there, at the launch site. Now comes the final act. The launch and the rendezvous with Hermes.
So here we are, the moment of truth. Watney's trapped into this, let's be honest, cobbled-together MAV.
Right.
Hermes is racing back to Mars for this crazy flyby.
Right.
And we're on the edge of our seats knowing everything depends on what happens next.
Even though you know Watney makes it out, he's telling the story. After all, the tension is just so thick you could cut it with a knife.
Oh, for sure. I was holding my breath through those last chapters.
Yeah.
And it's not just will he get off Mars, it's how. Andy Weir really walks you through all the technical details of that launch. The calculations, the risks, all of it.
Yeah, and he does it in a way that you, as a reader, you're not just reading about it, you're feeling it with Watney.
Totally.
The G-forces, the roar of the engines, the sheer terror of this desperate launch.
And remember that detail about the MAV's hull?
Oh, yeah, the canvas and duct tape situation?
It's literally held together with duct tape and a prayer.
Shows you how resourceful Watney is. This brilliant scientist doesn't hesitate to improvise, push the limits, even if it means duct tape on a spacecraft.
And it works, right? He launches. But of course, as soon as you think things are going right, another wrench gets thrown in the works.
Like clockwork. What was it this time?
During the ascent, there's this unexpected drag, throws off the trajectory and the velocity. Basically, the planned meeting point with Hermes, it's out the window.
Oh, man. Just when it seemed like everything was finally coming together. So close, yet so far.
So what happens? Does everyone just throw in the towel?
Not a chance. NASA and the Hermes crew, they are not quitters. They're scrambling, trying to come up with a solution, some way to change course and match the MAV's new trajectory.
Sounds impossible.
Almost. That's when they come up with this wild idea. Vehicle Assembly Lab. The VAL.
Oh, what now? Refresh my memory.
So it's basically an airlock, a chamber for moving things in and out of Hermes. And get this, the plan is to use the force of the air escaping from the VAL as a thruster.
Hold on, they're going to blow up part of their spacecraft to change direction?
That's the idea. Pretty crazy, right?
That takes guts.
Big time.
Yeah.
But it also shows that incredible ingenuity, that problem solving that runs through this whole story. And it's not just about the technical stuff, it's the human element too. The Hermes crew, they know the risks, what could go wrong, and they still decide to go for it.
It's a powerful moment. Shows you the strength of the human spirit, the bond between these crewmates.
Absolutely. And meanwhile, Watney's still clueless, working on that MAV, prepping for a rescue he has no idea is even in the works.
What a wild ride.
So even with this VAL maneuver, things are still far from certain. Hermes and the MAV, they're still moving at different speeds. Someone's got to go get Watney.
That sounds dangerous.
Understatement.
Yeah.
That's where Beck comes in, the mission doctor. He volunteers for the spacewalk, using his maneuvering unit to bridge the gap between the two spacecraft. And they're moving thousands of miles per hour.
I'm getting stressed just thinking about it.
Right. You're tethered to your spacecraft, relying on this little unit to get you to another craft moving at a different speed, and you're surrounded by the vast emptiness of space.
Intense. So does he make it?
He does. But just when you think he's not going to, he grabs hold of the MAV. Not the airlock, mind you, but the torn canvas where Watney had to cut away the hull.
Wow.
I know, right? Talk about cutting it close. And then finally, he pulls himself and Watney into Hermes, safe and sound. The relief is just massive.
You feel it. As a reader, I can only imagine what it must have been like for them.
You're right there with them every step of the way. You're rooting for Watney. And to see him finally rescued, it's just the best feeling. It's human ingenuity, collaboration, never giving up, all coming together.
The Martian. It's a story about pushing limits, overcoming obstacles, What happens when people work together to solve problems?
Exactly. And I think what we can take away from our deep dive is that even when things seem impossible, there's always hope.
Ingenuity, perseverance, those things can help you overcome anything.
And never underestimate the power of humor. It's what helps you stay sane, keep your spirits up when everything else is falling apart.
It's a story that stays with you, makes you look at your own challenges differently.
Like maybe they aren't so impossible after all.
And that even when things seem hopeless, there's always a way forward.